after 10 years, you just don't want to be on the same pay scale, right? So that
Right,
definitely,
right.
I won't say that no, that does not matter or something. That definitely matters.
Hello, viewers, and welcome to your very own Tech and More. Now, as you know, podcasts are gaining high traction these days because of the immense value they add. So we also have started doing the same. But in the last few years, we came across this fact that the attention span has reduced drastically. So we came up with a sort of an enhancement to podcast, that is speed podcast. So all in all, the duration of this particular session will be less, but the amount of information will be as much as required. So the intent is that more people come watch these videos and gain more information out of it. So we are trying something new, and do let us know your thoughts on this. So coming back to the agenda of this speed podcast, we have Kashish Patodi with us. She's an experienced SDET, and she's working with MTX right now, MTX Group, and she transitioned herself from functional testing into automation testing, which is the agenda for this podcast. That is, as a QA engineer, how can you switch your career from functional into automation testing? So before we proceed, Kashish, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Chaitanya, I'm good. How about you?
All good, thank you. And a warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation to talk about your experience of transitioning from functional into automation testing. So before we start, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, Kashish.
So, as already mentioned, I am Kashish Patodi. I have almost 4 years of experience in IT industry, and
Mm-hmm.
currently I'm working with MTS Group. And it is a US based firm which majorly deals with Salesforce projects. And I was previously working, I joined here as a Salesforce QA doing manual testing, but post that
Mm-hmm.
I did a transition. And currently now I'm in the automation team working from the automation side on the projects. So yeah, that's about it.
Great, great. Okay, so I know Kashish, and I have seen her journey of transition from functional into automation. And one time we were just chit chatting, and we came across this topic, that is, okay, how can we? I mean, there are a lot of people who are going through this question. That is, how can we transition from functional into automation? And honestly, in this dynamic era of tech, almost everybody wants to upskill, right? So we came up with this idea that how if we just organize a small or a speed podcast of 30-35 minutes, and we just discuss the basic journey, the basic roadmap, discuss a couple of questions, and maybe this content can help someone in need who is planning to switch from functional to automation. So that's why we are here. And I'm going to just quickly go through this itinerary of the speed podcast. We have divided this into two sections. The first one will be wherein Kashish will be telling us the step-by-step roadmap that one needs to follow to migrate from functional into automation testing, number one. And the second section will be that we have some questions from folks who are undergoing this journey, or rather planning to undergo this journey. So Kashish is going to answer those questions using her experience. So Kashish, are we good to start?
Yes.
Kashish, can you share this basic roadmap that will help folks to migrate into automation testing? And just a request to you, keep the steps very simple. I know there are ample amount of resources available on the internet. And what will differentiate this answer is that it will be very simple, very, very beneficial for the people who are just starting out. So just keep the entire journey that you're going to share, the roadmap that you're going to share, very simple.
Definitely. So, if I talk about my personal experiences and what roadmap I followed, it
Yeah.
started. The first of all, first thing which I would say is know your interest.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there are many verticals out there of testing, which you might know, like there are integration, performance,
Yeah.
security, and many more. So when you want to go, like you when you want to transition from manual to some different type of testing, it's not just automation, and everybody should know that, because it's not just that automation is the hot topic. You might see more something there and there, so you should go there. No, that's
Yeah.
not how it's about the interest. Why? Because when you're going to take such a big move, you're going to invest lot of your time when you think about transitioning, right? So I think first of all you should know your interest. So with me, like from my experience, I would say I started with knowing my interest. How? I learned about different type of verticals of testing, which included performance, security, integration. So there was a time when I was learning MuleSoft and rest of the things because I was
Yeah.
kind of interested to integration. With performance, it was a big no-no. I know, like from the very first thing when I started for the performance, I knew no, this is not something that I
Yeah.
should be doing.
Yeah.
Like my interest clearly not there. So, and then when I went to security, I thought that can be explored, but right now I just don't want to do it. So that's how, and when I came to automation, I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because back in school, I always kind of liked coding. There was something, and I was always interested in coding and in the programming languages and things. So there was, unfortunately, I landed into a QA job, but back
Yeah.
in the mind, I was always thinking that, okay, coding is something I should be doing because my interest lies there. So when I came across automation, I saw its potential and what things can be done, and also I can also use something where my
Mm.
interest lies. So that's where I knew that this is what I'm interested in, and there is what I have to put my efforts. So
Right.
first thing for everybody, I would say, know your interest. That is very important. It's not just that your friend is going into automation, you should also go. No, there are high chances that your interest and your friend's interest is different. So know your
Yeah.
interest, and only then you will rock in that place. So that is a
Yeah.
very simple, I would say, that know your interest. So first thing was that. Now moving to the second thing is, no, I got started with what I wanted to do, obviously. So I made a plan. And the plan started with what it is exactly. Because if so, let's just suppose if you're going on a trip, the first thing what you do is set a plan, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to
Right.
go, there should be a list of things you should know. There should be something fascinating about that place that you're going there. So
Mm-hmm.
I started with what is actually automation, what is its potential, what things I can do, how it can help me, how far it will take me. So those were the basic questions which I got myself answered with. And then I started learning automation with the basics, because fundamental concepts are very important. It's
Yeah.
not just you know how to implement it, you just directly dive into the project or something. No, because you will just run away, you'll not
Right.
understand anything.
Right.
So the very basic is you should know the concepts, the fundamentals, and then you should go ahead with what comes next. So when I say get started, there are also different tools and things that we have out in the market. Even automation can be done on different programming
Yeah.
languages like Java and Python and different things. So you should know what tools you are going to invest in, where you are going to put your efforts, what you are exactly going to learn, which would be easier, because there are
Mm-hmm.
some things that just dive in, and that is like difficult. Only somebody
Yeah.
can guide you that that comes next. So you should know what comes into the basics, and then you get started, and that is how you move forward to the advanced level. So that was what my plan is. I started with Selenium and Java basically, and
Mm-hmm.
I was never a Java person. When I say I was into coding, I
Yeah.
had C++ as my core languages. It was never Java. So I was very hesitant that, oh, I don't know that. How would I do
Yeah.
that? But when I started, I got to know, okay, I can do this. And it was little bit, I was skeptical, but then eventually I was able to do that. So that is how I started. The third thing is I went for the implementation. Now that I know what I'm going to do, I started with the implementation, because nothing can be done once you start implementing it. It's not just
Yeah.
that you know everything. You should know how to do it as well.
Right.
So I started with the implementation part. I started with my projects only. I created few dummy scripts. Whatever I learned, I started implementing it. That okay, this is how we are doing. Let's do it and see what comes. And I came across many challenges. The
Mm-hmm.
next thing was I was asking questions to my seniors like anything, and even
Yeah.
Chaitanya have many times that how
Yeah.
do we do this, doing that. So that is how you learn, right? You have to be open to ask questions, because
Yeah.
you that is something will help you learn, and also save your time. You cannot just Google everything, and Google have n numbers of answers to tell you. So the thing is, you should ask somebody who could explain you in a easier language. So that
Yeah.
is how I started. I started with implementation. I faced challenges. I went to my seniors. I asked questions, and that is how I got my things sorted. So third thing was implementation, and the final thing was being consistent. It's not
Mm-hmm.
that you don't know, you spend 2 3 days, okay, how to fix it, but you cannot do it, just go away. No, that is
Yeah.
not how it works. You have come across so far, learning many things, on your interest, doing all these things. So now you have to be consistent. You will
Mm-hmm.
face challenges, but you will learn a new thing. So yeah, that is how it worked for me. I started and I did everything on my own projects. And then eventually I went to my manager. I told him I'm interested. I wanted to transition and I want to start doing something into this particular field. And I finally transitioned. So that was my roadmap, and I would share this with you.
Yeah, great. And of course, you have given a very detailed plan. And the best part about this plan is that it is so real. I mean, I come across these plans on different portals or different videos that people unnecessarily complicate things. And the differentiating factor here is that you have given an answer which is very, very simple, very, very real. And I'm sure a lot of people will be able to correlate with what you're saying. So thank you so much for that. And one thing that Kashish has rightly mentioned, because I am myself into automation, so I can rightfully say this: do not blindly get into automation, right? So if you're planning to move from functional to some role, or maybe you're planning to add something to your skill set, right? It's not always that you have to move from functional. It's more of a full stack sort of a thing, or a hybrid sort of a role, wherein you do functional and other aspects as well. So do not just blindly learn anything for that matter. Explore performance, explore security, or for that matter, explore what BA is, what project management is, or maybe what data development or development is. So know your interests, and once you're sure, then you deep dive into it, right? And if somebody says that this particular domain is not that, I mean, it doesn't offer that much growth, I am sorry, they're wrong. Every field has its own capacity as far as IT or tech is concerned. So wherever your interest lies, you go and get into it. So and again, thank you, Kashish, for sharing this answer. I really appreciate it, and I hope that our viewers will be able to get a lot of help from this. And lastly, I would say for this particular section is that people who are watching this video, if you want any help, I mean, if you are in the same boat in which Kashish was a couple of years back, and if you want any help, please feel free to reach out to her on LinkedIn, and I'll be sharing her LinkedIn profile in the video description as well. I'm sure she'll be very responsive, and let's all help each other to grow. So go ahead and just ping Kashish like anything, and ask her all the questions you can. Okay, so I think now is the right time to jump into the questions. So as I said, that we gathered these questions from folks who are going through this journey or aiming to get into this journey. And of course, when you're planning for something new, when you're planning to learn something new, you always have a lot of questions, right? So of course, we had numerous questions, Kashish, but given the time and all, we filtered out the most frequently one or the most relevant ones. So the first question coming right at you, and I hope that you answer them very well. So the first one is that what actually triggered you to get into automation testing, right? So all in all, I think this person wants to know that how do I make a decision of getting into automation testing? That yes, you said that you have to go and deep dive into different topics, right? And then of course you did, and that is how you chose automation, right? But what motivated you into automation testing? And I'm talking from all the perspective, learning plus the compensation part as well, because compensation is also a very important part of your growth. So from all perspective, what motivated you to get into automation testing?
Okay, so for me, like I already mentioned, coding has always been something that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one reason because when I explored different type of testing and different verticals of testing, I saw automation is a place where I can use that skill, right? So that was not just one reason I would say that got me hooked here, but there were many reasons. Like when I was in manual QA, I could see that there are a number of test cases which we have to test daily when there is any change that comes in. So when we were doing that, I was thinking, yeah, this is something monotonous that we are doing it again. So why, like, can we not do something about it? Because now that we know if there is some change, this is some major piece of functionality that has to be tested. So can we not do something? It just get tested by its own. So when I got to know that automation has all these potentials, I can do this using this, and also my coding, like where I'm interested, that could be used there. So all in all, this was a win-win for everyone because we were giving the software a very good power here, right? Like you can do this, and whenever there is something that there's a minor change, we can run this test and that will get. Because now when we are doing that, that would be a one-time effort. Like when I did a deep dive study of why we are doing automation, I could see that that is just one-time effort. But when you do that, that is helping in the long run because now the testers are free and they can do something else. There are many other edge case scenarios or something new that's coming in. So they can invest their time there, and something that they have already given their time to is there in their place also, and they can just run the test. So that was something I could see, wow, that is something, that is a very good potential that automation holds. So giving the potential and everything and my interest and so that was a win-win for me and for
Yeah.
something that I wanted to learn. And also I could see that it was hot topic. It was very promising in the long run. And I've seen there are many jobs out there in automation. So
Right.
that was an
Right.
add-on for me. And I could see that because learning is a process, right? You just have to learn something to be there in the industry. You just have to keep adding on
Right.
your skills. Automation was the very right thing that I thought that I could do, and that would really be beneficial for me and for my team also. If I know automation, I can help them ease up their task. So all these things, eliminating all the monotonous job that I myself felt why we are doing this again and again. So given my personal experience, this is what triggered me into test automation.
Perfect. Perfect. So, Kashish, another question flowing in from this question. So, do you think that functional testers or people who do not come from a programming background can become successful SDETs?
Not really. I mean, programming language, knowing programming language is a plus, definitely, but it won't
Mhm.
be a deal breaker for somebody who doesn't know of programming languages. Because if you're in IT, definitely you know the concepts of basic
Right.
computer science. So you know what programming languages is, what it is. And also when we come into test automation, it's more about scripting languages than traditional programming languages. So if you know very basics that how it works, why we use the programming language, what are the basics, I think you are good to go. And you can just put a little bit of, maybe somebody who doesn't know will need little bit of more effort, but they can definitely do it. It's not something that you just cannot come into test automation. You would come, but you need maybe 2 3 more days to spend on brushing up your programming skills. And not just this, I think there are also tools out there where we can do codeless automation. And we have tools where we have visual interfaces that support something like
Mm-hmm.
this, where does not know programming languages can be helped. So these are the things I think that can help. So you can just go ahead and start it. Don't stop yourself that you just don't know any programming languages. That would not be.
Right.
And
Right.
I also think that if you know how logic works, you know
Right.
how programming languages work, because programming language is just a language. Like now when I'm speaking, this is just a medium that I'm speaking.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
right, that what I want to speak. So when you know how to implement something, you know what you want to implement, you know
Right.
half of the thing is done. You just need to learn that medium, and that is programming language is just a medium. So yeah.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, you mentioned codeless automation tools, right? What is your take on such tools? I mean, do you think they're effective, or they're at par with tools like Selenium or Playwright? I mean, I want to hear you out. What is your take on it?
I think that is helpful, especially for some people who do not know. And I don't seriously think that knowing nothing about programming language is something codeless tools will help with. But
Hmm.
yeah, codeless would be something that you are not doing you are just not doing, spending more of your time into coding things. Because when we do test automation, so suppose
Hmm.
if I take an example, if it's about login into any, there's a login page, right? So
Right.
login
Right.
page is something that is basic for every app that we are going to use. So if that is some implementation which is very basic for all the apps, codeless is something that is already done there, because even
Hmm.
in codeless they have used some logic to create that, right? So they are just reducing our efforts there, that you just don't need to do that again and again. This is what you can do, and they are just simplifying things for us. So that is
Hmm.
how codeless I think would be there. And yes, still you should have the knowledge. Like when I say automation testing, the very basic, when we go back to what is automation is, you should still know that what needs to be automated. Why?
Right.
Because there is something that very basic. You cannot just do the spell checks, right? With the use
Right.
of
Right.
automation, you just do the spell check. You need to know that what is the core functionality, what needs to be tested again and again. So
Hmm.
that is something different, and the tools are something different. So you, all in all, it's a win-win. Like you have
Yeah.
that particular code for codeless automation, but again you still need to know the fundamentals.
Right. 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 So, Kashish, I'm not going to say questions specifically. I have the questions with me. I'm just going to jot them out in a continuous format. So, the next question that comes out of this particular discussion is that you have been on both the ends, that is functional and automation. And this topic is very, very close to my thought as well, because I have heard a lot of myths around it. So there are a lot of people who feel that you can get into automation, performance, security for that matter, and you can skip functional from that particular part, right? And it won't matter, right? And using my experience, of course, I want to hear your thoughts. Even I have some reservations on this, and I want to understand what is going around in your journey, because your journey has been a little different than mine. So, do you think that I can become a successful SDET or a successful performance or security engineer without knowing and working into functional testing?
So when we talk about if functional knowledge is important, I think when you start testing, be it any vertical of testing, you should know the basics. When we
Right.
say basics, what actually testing is, what are the testing concepts, and what are the fundamental concepts that we follow in tests. So let's suppose we have STLC and things. You might have learned it in back in college, that what is STLC and everything. But when
Mm.
you are working as a functional tester, as a manual tester, so there what happens, you implement everything. You learn to know how in a project testing works, why are you testing, and what are the bugs and what are the issues, and what exactly what are you trying to deliver through, raising those bugs and everything. So everything that you learn there is an add-on when you move into any vertical, and be it any vertical. But the base is actually what testing it, right? So what is testing? That comes from the functional testing. And it is not, I won't say it's necessary that you should know it, but I think when you start, like when I say know your interest and get started, so when you get started, if you don't know what testing is, it does not make any point, right? Be it any kind of testing. So you have to start with what actually testing is, and why you are doing it, what are the requirements, and how. So basically when we test a software, the very basic rule is we have to know that what are the requirements, and if we are meeting those requirements, right? So we raise bugs when requirements are not met, and anything that goes wrong, that is where we raise bugs. So this is how testing is important. You should know what are the basis of testing. So it's not necessary that you start as a functional tester and then take a transition, but if you're already there, you still have to do these work of knowing the basics.
Right, right, right. So, all in all, what you're saying is that yes, functional testing can be a very good add-on for you to learn other verticals, right? Okay. So I have a question here. So when you were undergoing this journey of transitioning from functional to automation, and for that matter, when you learn anything new, you always face some challenges, right? So can you share one or two challenges that you face? So when people are watching this video, when they face that challenge, they'll not be puzzled. They'll have some sort of a solution already hearing from your mouth, right? So what were the challenges you faced?
So when we talk about challenges, I think that is a part of every journey that you start. So there has been challenges. I think challenges basically comes because there is a learning with it. So every
Right.
time you face a challenge, you come out with some new learning. So challenges are equally important, because if everything goes smooth, you are not learning something. You are just implementing that, there's no new learning. That is what I believe. So when I started my journey, I do definitely face challenges, and there were many. So when you start with theoretical knowledge, I started implementing it, right? And when I started implementing it, that is when I started facing challenges also, because I knew how to do it, but when you start doing it, you need help. So I was open to help. I was asking people and things. So one of the challenge which I faced personally, like you might laugh on it, or like, but again, that is something, I think that is a very personal example that I should share. And in case of automation, right, there are different files that we have. So one is feature file where we write the test cases, and there is a runner file which we run in order to
Right.
run those test cases. So when I started, I was told that runner file is the one which you run, right? So the very first time when I started, I was running the feature file. Every time I have written the test case, I did everything on my part that this is what I have to do, but I was running the wrong file, and that was why my test case was not working. I
Right.
googled why it was not working. Everything in my power, I did everything that why is it not working. So ultimately, and then I went through the list of people who I should be asking, because I was thinking, yeah, why it's not working? Maybe it's something silly that I'm doing. What should I do? So there is one friend of mine, I reached her and I told her, yeah, see, this is what I've done. Please tell me what is going wrong. So she said that, okay, you run it and I'll see what went wrong. So when I went there, I was sharing my screen. I went there and I run the file. So she told me, why are you running the feature file? You have to run the runner file. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, why did I do that? So that was what, but now when I like look back and I see that example, this is something I will never forget. Why? Because I have learned it through a challenge. I wasted whole day because I was thinking why it's not working. And because when you face a challenge, the first thing that you do is you yourself try to come out, like why you're facing
Right.
that challenge. So even in that time, you learn many things, that why you are doing this. You might come across something new, that okay, this let's try this. So you do something new, you do experiments. And then eventually when I asked her and when I got to know, that was one challenge which I faced. So even she was laughing and she said, okay, that's okay, because she also told me that even in her beginning, she was
Yeah.
facing
Yeah.
those challenges. So that is how we learn. So these were the kind of challenges which I faced. And but yes, whenever you face challenges, be it any silly question or anything, just don't hesitate, because I think everybody around you knows you are learning. And even if you are a pro, I think even if you are a pro, you definitely have a time when you face a challenge, and that's completely okay.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
don't know things, you can ask people, because everybody here is like, even we are helping people to learn and grow. So that is how it works. That is how ecosystem works. So be open to help, ask questions. Challenges will come, but you have to face them, even if you have to take help of others. So that was my
Well said, well said. And yeah, as you said, if you're not facing any challenges, might be there is something which you're not doing or you're doing wrong. So because if you're
yes,
not facing any problems while you're learning something new, either you are a superhuman, which we are not,
yeah.
or you're not doing anything for that matter, right? So yeah, I think the questions here are done, and I think Kashish, you have answered the questions right from your heart. That is what the best part is. You have not sugar-coated anything. So and that was a very sole reason why I was looking so much forward to this tweet podcast, because I knew that you'll speak right from the heart. You'll talk from the ground level experiences. So thank you so much for that. But I have this question from my end. Even I have a question for you. So do you think that after 10 years or after 15 years, you given an option between two, number one being that you continue brushing up your skills in test automation, and then you become an expert, a principal asset or something. And plan number two is that you get into the management path, right? And
Mhm.
let's suppose the compensations are almost equal, and I can maybe the compensation for management role is more as compared to the technical role. So what would you choose? I mean, given your current situation, of course, you never know what happens after 10 years. But if had you been asked this question right now, what would you have chosen?
So I think, even if like personally, what I think is, right now I might be interested in automation, but moving forward, everything that you do, if you keep doing that, that becomes kind of monotonous, right? You maybe try to explore new things, new tools, but they cannot be everything new every time you go out and look for it, right? And there is also a certain time period when you try to struggle and find new opportunities for yourself. So if you ask me, after 10 years, I think I would try to go into the management part. Given not given all these compensation and things, definitely that plays a very important factor, because after 10 years you just don't want to be on the same pay scale, right? So that
Right,
definitely,
right.
I won't say that no, that does not matter or something. That definitely matters. Everybody here is doing it for the pay, for the good living and things. So that definitely plays an important role. But I firmly believe that even if you want to learn something new in very same domain, you cannot find everything every day, everything fresh. So for me, I think I'll try to move into the management part, because now when I've faced the challenges, I've been all through this journey, I would want someone to be like, when I'm in the management team, I want to be there for people who are coming through my journey. I would like to help them being in the management team, that okay, if this is what you are facing. Because even when, like, suppose if it's me, I also look up for a leader who would help me, right? So they have been through this journey, now that they are 10 years experience, they have been there and done that, so they would help me. So I also want to be at that place where I could help people. So that is why I would want to be in the management journey. And yeah, that would be my view.
Fair enough. And I think the intent for me asking this question is because I see folks who say that, okay, once I learn automation, everything is set for me. I did not work on anything in the going in the coming years. I'm all set. So the bitter truth is that you're never set for anything. Same lie was told to us when we were in 10th standard, 12th standard, engineering, or any professional degree for that matter. And then you get a job, then life is set. Then you have to do something else. Then you have to learn a new skill. So life is never set per se. So the intent of asking this question was that do not think that you're learning automation and this is the end, right? Even if you want to stay into automation, you'll have to learn a lot of new things, right? So these days, self-healing, the concept of self-healing, the concept of AI is merging a lot into the concept of automation. Very, very fine codeless tools are coming to the picture. So you might hate it to your core that yes, I want to code, I don't want to use the non-programming tools. You'll have to use them, right? Because you have to think from the business perspective as well. If they're more economical, if they're more fast, the employer is going to ask you, right? So always be very, very flexible. That is what I can also say. And I'm sure that is what Kashish is also saying, that you have to be flexible and you have to change as per the situation. So because in such types of podcasts, it's not only the core topics that we discuss, but we always try to help folks from other perspectives as well. So the vision is, the aim is that the challenges that you and I faced a couple of years back, and if someone is facing them right now, maybe after watching this video, they have 50% answers at least. I mean, even if not 100%, 50% also helps, right? So that is the intent. And even if you're able to help some people with the use of this video or this podcast, I think our job here is done. So uh, closing remarks, I don't have any more questions right now, but I would again thank you, Kashish, for providing your insights and answering all the questions with so much patience and so much detail. Now, before we close, would you like to share any closing remarks with the viewers and anything you would like to share?
Yes, definitely. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me on this platform because, like you said, there must be somebody out there who is looking for
Yeah.
such video, real life experiences. I was that somebody at some point of time. I was somebody who was for searching for something for a real life experience. And trust me, you will have many people out there. There would be some people who would scare you that no, you just don't do it. Right now, you're at a
Mhm.
very stable position. Don't try to do the transitioning. Maybe you won't be able to do it. But somebody who have tried it, done that, and say, okay, I was not able to do that, so even you cannot do that. Don't get influenced by such people. There, it's just you who knows that what you can do. But the first step is you have to take your first step. You have to be there. And also, when we think about learning, it's not just some from the seniors that you can learn. You can also look out for the juniors. Everybody here is share some kind of learning, so it's not just your seniors that can help you. Even your juniors can help you. They might know something that even you don't know. So learn from everyone and learn from the experiences, but don't take them personally that if he or she cannot do it, I cannot do it. Everybody has their own experience, but yeah, it's just you. And I think this can be helpful for you. And I don't know, I don't want to be Sandeep Maheshwari giving the motivation here, but again, it's just my experience. If I'm able to do it, you are definitely able to do it. Know your
Yeah.
interest. If you are interested, if your interest lies somewhere, I think you can definitely do that particular thing. So yeah, that is it. And thank you, Chaitanya, so much for having me.
You're most welcome, and thank you because you have been the person who has been, sharing your insights. And as you rightly said, that it's not, I mean, it's not motivational video or anything. It's just that you have to understand one thing, that any tech stack, it's no rocket science. To be very honest, I might get penalized for saying this, that it's not rocket science, because I'm working in these domains and I'm, somehow saying that they are not that complicated. But being very honest, of course, you have to put in hard work to learn it, but it's not that you have to, I mean, it's crazy, it's not. So if you just pay a couple of months dedication for that particular skill set, you'll be able to pick it up. So again, thank you, Kashish, and I hope that this session was good for you as well. You were able to share your insights and you had a good time. That's the most important part. So again, closing, the conclusion is, of course, honestly, this podcast is going so good. I don't feel like ending it right now, but keeping in mind the speed podcast concept as say, we have to close it right now. So last words from my end. Thank you, viewers, for turning up to the podcast today. That is, how do you switch from from functional testing into automation testing? And we hope that you found this discussion insightful and valuable. If you enjoyed this podcast or episode, please subscribe and leave us a comment on Tech and More channel. And lastly, if you have any questions or topics, and if you would like us to create a podcast on your choice, feel free to comment, and we promise to deliver that to you. So finally, thanks again for sharing your insights, Kashish, and hopefully let's do another collaboration very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.